Let's head to the voicemail of Truth and Reason.
Hey, how many of you armchair quarterbacks have ever suffered a dislocated shoulder and torn labrum, like I have? Because I know that when you have that injury, you cannot lay on that side, which means you can't sleep on that side. You can't even sleep on your front, which means you can't roll over normally when you sleep, which means you cannot get a good night's sleep. Baker Mayfield has not had a good night's sleep in months. How well do you think you'd do your job if you hadn't had a good night's sleep for months and months, and you were sleep deprived and suffering the cognitive impairment that comes along with it?
Scott, I actually have a torn labrum and opted not to get surgery on it. So they looked at it, and it was my young mind cashing checks, weightlifting that my old body could not necessarily deal with. So they looked at it. I likely tore my labrum, might have torn my rotator cuff in my left shoulder as well. It's true. You wake up in the morning and it's like, man, I can't move. And every time I lift my left arm over my head, I hear a clicking and it pops out of joint. So there is truth to that. Having said that, let's not get overly dramatic. You know, Baker sleeps. And to his point, though, you do wake up more frequently than you normally would.
Yeah, I'm sure you do. And I don't think anybody's discounting the pain and discomfort Baker was in the struggles of having that rotator cuff. The questions are, should he still have been playing? Was he a better option than Case Keenum? And should he have played better than he did? And I would say yes to all three questions. And the Browns have been consistent about that all year long. They were consistent about it again this week, that Baker was cleared medically. Baker wanted to play. Baker looked good enough in practice, and he's your starting quarterback. He was the number one pick in the draft. You play that guy. Other quarterbacks have injuries. So I think it's a false narrative that this season would have been saved if Baker sat for 2 weeks, because the reality is he sat during the bye week and came back. He sat for COVID and came back, and he wasn't a different quarterback. And he had a great game against Cincinnati with a torn labrum. So I just have a hard time reconciling those things. I think Baker just needed to play better. That doesn't mean it didn't affect him, but I still think he had the opportunity to play better and didn't.
And again, 2 weeks resting isn't going to cure what's wrong with his left shoulder. I mean, it's the surgery. There's a reason they shut him down and said he's going to have surgery as soon as possible, because you want to begin the rehab process.
But that was the argument throughout the season, right? To sit him for a couple of weeks, that doesn't make any sense to me.
No, and I'm in agreement with you. It's interesting. If you gave Kevin Stefanski and Andrew Berry some truth serum and asked them if they could go back and do it differently, would they have sat him? It would be interesting to see their thoughts behind that.
Yeah, it would be interesting, but I don't think they would. I mean, first of all, Case Keenum is not a top 30 quarterback in the league, right? He's a good backup. Do the Browns win the Super Bowl with Case Keenum? I guess you could come up with a scenario, but my point is I think Baker injured was probably better than Case Keenum, right? People point to that finale against Cincinnati like that's a example of, oh my gosh, Case Keenum would have won games. He threw for 175 yards, threw a pick in the end zone, and fumbled that Cincinnati scored for a touchdown. It was Cincinnati's backups, right? It's not like he transformed this offense. So again, you play your starting quarterback, and if he's not good enough, he's not good enough.